So let's talk about Vietnamese egg coffee. Is it really worth all the hype you hear about? It's one of those drinks that travelers will literally go on a quest for. Today, we're going to follow one person's journey to find out if this legendary drink actually lives up to its massive reputation. Okay, so at its core, egg coffee is all about contrast. You've got this rich, almost dessert-like foam on top, made from whisked egg yolks, and underneath you have that super intense, bitter Vietnamese coffee. Let's be real, it sounds a little strange, right? It actually goes way back to the 1940s, when a milk shortage meant a bartender had to get creative. But the big question for us today is, does this weird combination actually work? All right, so let's dive into our story. Our traveler's mission was pretty simple. Find a real, authentic cup of egg coffee, away from all the tourist traps, right there in the heart of Vietnam. And you know what? He found it. Not in some fancy modern cafe, but in a simple local coffee hut just down the road. You know, the perfect place for the real deal. The goal was crystal clear. Order the classic hot egg coffee and finally see what all the fuss is about. But here's the thing he learned pretty quickly. You don't just grab the cup and start chugging it down. Nope. To get the full experience, there's actually a very specific technique you gotta follow. The instructions he got were simple, but they were absolutely crucial. First, you have to let those distinct layers of cream and coffee settle for a moment. Then, and this is the key part, you don't just drink it. You sip the dark, bitter coffee from the bottom while you scoop up the sweet, fluffy cream from the top. It's a totally interactive way to have a coffee. So he followed the rules. He had a spoon and his cup ready. It was time for the moment of truth. What on earth does this famous, strange-sounding drink actually taste like? And that first sip, wow. It's just a total collision of sensations. You get that cool, sweet, creamy foam from the top, and then it's immediately followed by this rush of piping hot, bitter coffee from below. It's literally two completely different worlds in one single mouthful. So, what was the verdict? It was instant, it was definitive, and it was just pure joy. His exact words were, absolutely banging. I think it's safe to say it made a bit of an impression. So, what was it that made it that good? Well, it all came down to that perfect contrast. That super sweet, creamy topping just cuts right through the intense, bitter coffee. He just kept saying it was so sweet, so good, and that the mix of sugar and strong caffeine felt like it was going to send him absolutely off his head. Now, he makes a really crucial point here. You can get an iced version of egg coffee, but he insists the hot one is way, way better. And why is that? Because with the iced version, you completely lose that fundamental hot and cold contrast. And that's where all the magic happens. Okay, so the taste was a huge, massive success. But there was still one more surprise to come, and that was the price. So, what do you think a coffee experience this amazing actually costs in Vietnam? The bill arrives, and it's 40,000 dong. Now, if you're not familiar with the currency, that number probably sounds huge, right? But let's put that into perspective for a second.
That 40,000 dong, well, it translates to practically nothing in other currencies. I mean, we're talking about just £1.20 in the UK, about $1.50 in the US, and maybe €1.40. It is an absolutely unbelievable value.
So yeah, so cheap is an understatement. This isn't just a great cup of coffee. It's an entire incredible coffee experience for an astonishingly low price. The value for money is just completely and utterly off the charts.
Which brings us right back to our original question. We've got the taste, we've got the unique experience, and we've got the incredible price. Let's put it all together and get the final analysis. You know, this final quote, it really says it all. He mentions that he's getting munched by mosquitoes. We've all been there, right? But even that couldn't ruin the moment. The coffee was so good he called it a coffee god. When something makes mosquito bites worth it, you know it's special. So is Vietnamese egg coffee worth the hype? According to this whole experience, the answer is a resounding, definitive yes. It delivers a unique, intense, and delicious experience that totally lives up to its legendary status. And it gets an extra special recommendation for anyone out there who really enjoys a sweeter coffee. You know, this whole journey for a simple cup of coffee really proves a bigger point. Sometimes the most unforgettable things aren't in the travel guides or the fancy hotels. They're just down the road in a small local spot. It really makes you wonder, What incredible discovery will you make on your next adventure?